We make hundreds, if not thousands of decisions every single day. And yet the one question we must always ask ourselves, especially when making the most important of decisions, is: one of the most important questions that we can ask ourselves when evaluating a decision is whether or not we are making this decision from a place of possibility or a place of fear. Essentially, are we trying to manifest something that we want to have happen, or are we trying to prevent something that we don't want to have happen? On the surface, this may often seem like a very subtle and almost imperceptible distinction, yet the difference between the two is incredibly profound and can ultimately mean the difference between a life that is predominantly abundant and happy versus one that is predominantly fearful and limiting. We are biologically constructed to prioritize the detection and neutralization of threats in our environment. This is why our sense of fear typically has such an overwhelming influence in most of our lives. And while there's no denying the fact that a certain degree of fear helps to keep us out of harm's way, so many of us unfortunately allow fear to become our North Star, the guiding force in all that we do. Everything in our lives, including fear, has its place. But at the same time, just like everything else in our lives, fear must remain in its place. Otherwise, we run the risk of living lives that are imbalanced and ultimately unhappy. The obvious problem of living a life that is predominantly rooted in fear is that it ultimately becomes a life that doesn't feel very good. But equally, when we live our lives primarily from a place of fear, we also end up closing ourselves off to so much in the way of possibility and opportunity. When we allow fear to become the rule of law in our lives, we end up playing the game of life not to lose, instead of playing the game of life to win. So for many of us, a complete reversal of the ways in which we've been living our lives is in order, and we can begin simply, but significantly, by altering the way in which we make decisions. When faced with a choice, we should always give ourselves pause and ask ourselves, am I approaching this situation from a place of confidence in myself and my ability to navigate any potential challenges? Or am I approaching this situation from a place of fear and doubt? Depending on our present state of self-awareness, it can be difficult for us to know the difference between the two. This is because so many of us, whether consciously or unconsciously, have been living in a state of fear for so long that it seems like the most natural place from which to make our decisions. The tragic irony of living a life that is predominantly influenced by fear is that we always somehow continue to feel anxious, unfulfilled, and perplexed as to why. When we are living our lives in a predominant state of fear, it can be challenging for us to be aware of and acknowledge the fact that not much in life will change until we ourselves begin to change. This is why one of the most crucial aspects of living a life that is more conscious and intentional is actively challenging ourselves to think and behave differently. This is not to say that we will always end up thinking and behaving differently, or that we even need to as a result of our reflections, but simply that to begin living a life that is more conscious and intentional, one that is ultimately rooted in the purpose of the best version of ourselves, is one in which we bring honest awareness to the moment and to our own intentions. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it and feel like it helped you, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you know the next time I release a new video. Thanks so much and have a great day.